Hello YouTube viewers, I'm your host Iganup, and today I'm doing something a little different. No, I'm not talking about giant scale planes or reviewing some product or teardown or even a product unboxing or review. But today I'm actually doing something a little more practical. For those of you who don't know what I'm looking at right here, this is my home furnace. And you can see there I've installed a Honeywell humidifier. The reason I threw that in is because we have hardwood floors, and up here in Canada we've got some quite cold temperatures in the winter, and I need to keep the humidity, relative humidity levels quite above what they brutally are, around 20% or even 15% without humidity. So that's why I've installed this unit. Now this unit's about 4 years old. I put it in about 4 years ago, and I've come across a little issue, and I wasn't even going to make this video, but I figured, you know what, I've got it all apart. I figured out what the issue is. Why wouldn't I throw together a quick 5-minute video or 10-minute video and save some of you guys some frustration and headache and some hassle, and just go through what the issue is. So this is a Honeywell, just it's right on the just right on the furnace itself. It just says Honeywell humidifier here. The product tag is actually underneath, and if we can get it to focus here, it says Honeywell humidifier model 260A. So this is a common residential use humidifier. You can see there it says it's 24 volt AC current. I've just got the control unit set over here, and you can see the controllers up there. Now, what the problem is that some of you may have discovered, and mine is apart here, I apologize. Generally you'll see a solenoid valve, something like this, sitting here with some ends on it where you attach the tubing. But generally what I found is I actually had a few issues, and I was just going through doing some maintenance, but I replaced the downpipe here because it was corroded. We've got really hard water here, and that thing was just full of mineral deposits, so I swapped it out for a new tube. Just picked it up for a couple bucks. Actually, I think I had that one spare from the original installation, but I picked up a piece of the other tube there, the feed piece, feed line. It's just a 1/4 inch feed line into it. Anyways, but the problem that I discovered is you may all have this issue, you don't even know it. What you should do is actually go downstairs to your furnace, crank your, you may as well just, so you know if you have the issue, just crank your humidity way up so that the thing actually turns on. And when your furnace comes on, this control unit will trigger the controller here to turn on and open the solenoid valve. Well, if you just go like this and pinch your drain pipe, you should see this thing start to fill up with water. Now, the trouble is it's great when the furnace is running, but give it a minute or two after your furnace is shut off so that the unit can drain out, and continue pinching it. There shouldn't be water coming through here. If there is, you have a problem. You have the same problem I have. And what that is that solenoid valve is actually stuck on full time. Now, generally, like I said here, I pulled mine apart. There's the plug on the floor. Obviously, when it's plugged in, that is the point, is it opens and closes the solenoid valve with the electromagnet. But what the problem is here is it just is open full time. And I was like, what the heck, what's wrong with this thing? So I quickly pulled off the solenoid valve. All you do, for those of you who have discovered that you too have the issue, you just take out, apologize for my camera work here with my iPad, you just take out the 2 screws that are right into the bottom there, pull the unit off, unwire it from however you have it wired up. You may have it soldered on, just cut the wires off. You should have some excess there, and detach your tubing. So we'll come over here to the workbench and I'll show you what to do to fix it. Alright, so I hope you guys can see everything okay. I'm just going to go through this really quickly. This isn't going to be a thorough step-by-step, just because, you know, if you're doing this kind of repair, you probably know what you're doing already. I don't need to go through every single thing, but I will show you what you need to do to this project. You need a basic crescent wrench or some sort of wrench here. I didn't even measure what size that is. Looks like about 10 mil or so, something like that. You need a crescent wrench. It may even be imperial. I didn't look at it. You need just a basic flathead screwdriver, something like that. I just got a cheap one here. I use a razor blade just for pulling out the filter, and you'll need some small needle nose pliers if you may need them. I used them just to clean out the orifice. But anyways, that being said, what you want to do is you take your solenoid valve. Now, for those of you that don't know what this is or what it does or what that even means, basically what it is this thing provides AC current down these wires. what it does is it energizes this electromagnet that's in this casing right here. And what that does is it pulls open a little solenoid valve that allows water to flow through the orifices. So all that does at the end of the day is it's a little unit that controls water flow so that you're not letting your expensive water just flow out of your humidifier constantly through the filter. What it does is it only turns on when the furnace turns on. So depending on where your humidity level is set at on your thermostat or on your dial there, the controller will turn this thing on or off depending what your relative humidity is at, and if it needs more humidity it will turn the water flow on when the furnace is on. There's no point having water flow through it if there's no airflow actually evaporating the water. So let's go through this really quickly. You can see I've got a bunch of parts here, and oops, that's not part of this project. The reason why is because I had to do some replacements. So that being said, I'm just going to move some stuff. Now, first thing you'll do, I hope you guys can see all this. So first thing you're going to do, these will be in here like this. This is your out piece of, this is a brass fitting anyways. This will go up into your, there's a rubber tube on here that goes up into your humidifier to feed the top of the filter, and this is your input. So you want to basically unscrew those. You may have to throw this thing into a vise. I'm not going to show you all that. I've already taken them out. So take them out with your pair of, or your crescent wrench I mean. Unwind these, and you've got the basic solenoid valve here. So what we do next is I would just loosen the thing off. You know what, actually, I would do this first. You may as well crack it. It's kind of like loosening your lug nuts on your wheel before you jack the car up type idea. So take your flathead screwdriver and just pop that into the flat slot there and just unscrew it. Again, you may have to gently put this in a vise. You don't want to damage the threads. So what I would do is just put a piece of paper towel or some cardboard around it and just gently pinch it in the vise, and then just give that a crack open. So I'm going to see if I can do it with my hand here. Yep, I'm able to, just barely. And then next you're going to take your crescent and just loosen off this retaining nut. Okay, so quickly here, because this is going to get way too long, I apologize. Once you've got that retaining nut off, you basically want to take the electromagnet off of the solenoid valve. So you've got two pieces here. Great. Next you're going to pull off, it's got a washer and just a basic rubber seal. So gently pull those off and set them aside. Remember the order, so I just usually set them off how they came off. And next you can just, inspect and make sure this thing's okay. This isn't the problem. What the problem is this guy here, the valve. So because we cracked this open already, you can just unscrew this. And in here is, well, I'll show you. There's just some fairly delicate threads here. This one, you may have a brass bottom. It doesn't matter. All of these have different ratings, different numbers, depending on their application. If yours is slightly different than mine, it will look similar in this regard, but you may have a brass bottom like my old one here. This is actually the new one, but I'm showing it to you right now. So you'll unscrew that. Here's the solenoid, or the stopper in layman's terms. There's a little rubber mallet or whatever you want to call on here. And what that does is it makes a nice firm but gentle seal right on there. And what this thing does is basically, if you look at your out and in, the water comes in from your supply line and it flows through that filter up through one of those orifices, and when that thing's open, it allows it to flow back down into there. Because once that electromagnetic charges, it lifts this little solenoid and it allows the water to flow down through there and out your exit hole or exit pipe. So what the problem is, what the actual issue is after all of that explanation, and I apologize here, I'm just trying to rush through it, I didn't plan ahead at all, but what the actual issue is here is, look at this. You guys see that? Look at the new one. I'll turn it over. It's hard to see because there's a screen in there. There's a hole through this old one. That's not supposed to be there. So that's quite interesting. Now I started Googling because I wanted to see, has anybody else had this issue? And there's a few guys on some forums that were ranting about these valves and Honeywell's response and saying, you know, if we had an issue, we would have known by now because there's over 400,000 of these things out in service and blah, blah, blah. Well, I have the same issue as these guys, and do you know what's funny is my best friend down the street, I told him about this and he's like, no way. He's like, my unit wouldn't shut off. He's like, I just went to Home Depot and just installed a brand new humidifier, same model, literally 1 week before I did. So I'm not the only one having this issue, and these guys online, there's a lot of people. So don't be surprised if you have the issue as well. What the problem is though is, why is that hole there? What caused that? Well, what caused that? Okay, by the way, that hole there just allows the water to continuously flow through. It has nothing to do with, the valve doesn't even do anything at this point. What I think the problem is a combination of hard water, which creates water deposits, mineral deposits, as you'll see. CLR is one of our best friends here. If you know, if you're a plumber, I guess I'm not a plumber by any means, but CLR, you know, you'll have to wipe things off because there's so many deposits. But what I found is when you mix that hard water, it acts kind of like a sandblaster, right? When it's continuously just rushing against there. But the other thing is our water pressure here is very high. The city here I'm in Calgary, has extremely high water pressure. I didn't actually put a gauge on my lines to see what we have, but I know that we do because I've done some other plumbing repair work on some copper pipe and stuff, and it's ridiculous some of the products that are out there that claim to actually hold in household plumbing. There's no way, and it's not an installation thing. I mean, physically, the material they use, the water will literally just blast right through the stuff. And it's funny because I'm wondering if it's a combination of the high water pressure and the hard water that we have here with all those mineral deposits. So how do we fix this? Now I'm going to show you one other thing. Okay, when you take, sorry, I'm all over the place here, you guys, I apologize. So anyways, this is your input pipe. Now, if you take that little filter out, that's why I had the razor blade, just take your razor blade in there very gently and just go like that. You won't damage the filter, but there's a little filter in this orifice. Look at that. It's just blown to bits. There's hardly anything left. It's just full of holes and destroyed. So I'll chuck that out. Really, it doesn't matter. You don't need that thing in there. It's just going to clog up with our hard water here anyways. But here's where our problem is. That tiny little, I don't know, 1/64th hole, I don't know what size that little orifice is probably way too small. This thing's just basically acting like a water jet or a water cutter. So that's exactly what is not helping this issue. So the solution, well, I could actually just take this and drill this little hole out, this orifice slightly, but my smallest drill bits, I believe, are only 1/16th of an inch. That's pretty big. So I don't want to go to all that, you know, drilling that out and taking the pressure down, right? I'd rather just put in a new base. So that's what I did. You could try doing that, but the thing is you're going to have to replace the base anyways because it's toast. So you may as well just not mess with this because you'll probably end up wrecking it. But anyways, we need to replace this. So here's the new one. Again, there's a screen in there on this one. Doesn't matter. But what we're going to do is basically on the new one, it's probably assembled. I took it apart just like the old one. And in here, this is slightly different specs. If I can find the other one. So you can see they're both KIP valves. They say Farmington CT. The original one, well, you can see the numbers there in the video. It doesn't matter, to be honest. Some of the specs on here, yeah, if you really wanted to be critical, you could order the same one, but I'll let you spend your $100 or $120 buying the exact same model when you can get away with something that's similarly spec'd. I got this for $10 off eBay, brand new. So that's what I recommend. The original one's rated at 6 watts. Its orifice is 1/16th of an inch. Really, if it's bigger or not, it doesn't matter, to be honest, because now if this is Honeywell, maybe they'd say, well, yeah, of course it does. But to be honest, in this application, it doesn't, because anything is better than having the water flow 24/7, which it has been for who knows how many years, because I didn't know the issue existed. But just make sure that your volts match here. This is a 24 by 60. So you can see here, this one is a 24, 50 to 60. So it's just an AC, make sure it's an AC current rated for the right voltage here. Don't use something that is, 12 volt or 5 volt or 50 volt or something that's out of spec here. Make sure you use something that's compatible. If the orifice size, like this new one is 5/32, the original is 1/16. If it's different, don't worry about it. But what I would do is, because that controller is spec'd to run this electromagnet, I wanted to use this bracket to hang it back up. So all you do is pop this little, I guess I'll just show you here, pop this little thing out. Maybe I won't take it out because it was a pain to get back in, and push the wires out, and you can actually just pull the electromagnet out if you wanted to change it over to the new one. But because that controller is spec'd for it, I'm just going to leave the original one all assembled. So you don't even have to do that if you don't want to. If you want to replace it, if you think, well, it's 10 or 20 years old and you want to put in a new one, then by all means do it. But it's just a super basic electromagnet system in there. I don't actually know what the official term is, but anyways, that being said, here's the piece that we care about. So what we're gonna do is basically, I disassembled it here, as you can see. So I want to use basically all the new parts that I can. So now I'm just forgot which is the new parts and which is the old parts. So we want to use our new part here, and we want to put everything back together. So throw your washer on there, your rubber stopper on there, and we're going to stick this through the old unit, because the whole point of me using the old unit is it's spec'd 6 watts for turning on and off properly for the electromagnet for the other controller. To be honest, I don't think it matters, but anyways, throw this back in. So we're using this new piece with the old bracket and electromagnet, assuming you don't want to swap yours out. Otherwise, you could try and zip tie it on, but heck, if we're going to this much work, we may as well install it properly, right? Throw that in there. Again, I apologize, this is so long, you guys. I should have planned ahead, but that's okay. Take your new valve unit and make sure you don't forget about your plunger. Now, the thing is, I could use the old one, but see how my old one, I don't know if you can see it there in the video, but it's a little bit beat up. I don't know if you can see that. So it's not in the greatest shape, and it's really hard compared to the new one. It's nice and soft, and there's no damage to it, so I'm going to use the new one. And you may as well, because it covers the new orifice size. Like I said, these are a little bit out of spec from the originals, but it does not matter. So throw that into your solenoid setup here, and then all you do, just make sure your spring is on there. It shouldn't come off, but throw it in there, and then just screw this new guy back in. That's all you do. Okay, so once that's done, what we want to do is first tighten up the solenoid itself. So we'll take, and I might be wrong in some of my lingo here, going so fast and not thinking about it. I don't know, I've never taken one of these apart before, but found the issue. So anyways, once that's tightened up there, just give it a snug, if you really want to, throw it in a vise and give it a bit of a snug, but it doesn't have to be nuts. And then you're gonna, I would Teflon tape this guy, but for the video's sake, I'm not gonna bother. I already did this side, but I need to do the where the supply line goes on. So anyways, just take your orifice. We dumped that old junky screen out. Again, that doesn't matter. What I would do though is, I don't know where I set that thing. I had a little pin here. Yeah, sorry, I didn't include that in my list of tools. A little pin here. Just take it and stick it in the little orifice and make sure it's clean. You could use something like an E or a G string or something like that from a guitar. That's probably about the right size, but it's a little hard for me to tell just looking at it. But just clean that guy out, and if you've got compressed air or an air compressor, blow it out. It's a good idea. You can. I already jammed the needle in from the other side before the video and cleaned it out. Just grab some pliers and move the needle around in the orifice, and then screw it back together. Now, this is your input. Don't put it on the outside. Put it on the inside. So we'll screw that on. Again, I don't really care about doing this for the video, so rather than, actually I won't do that right now, rather than mess with this, just save time. Okay, so once you've got that end in on the out side, so the one labeled out, you want to put your exit piece of copper pipe or whatever you've got there. This is just an L bracket, or an L, not a bracket, an L pipe, or whatever you want to call it, an elbow, because it goes straight up to the humidifier supply up at the top of the filter. So again, I'd recommend throwing some Teflon tape there. You know, give it a bit of a snug, you know, tight for the just so it doesn't leak. But you know, to be honest, don't reef on that. You're just going to end up wrecking the threads and have a leak. Okay, once that's done, tighten it all down and make sure that you have this thing set up the right direction. So see, I was already out 90 degrees on this thing. Mine's not that tight, so I'll just tighten it up. I'm going to put Teflon on there anyways after this video. So just make sure that you've got it set up the right direction. So the flathead, the bolt, the top of this bolt sticks out towards you, away from the humidifier, and then your output will be on the right and your input on the left if yours is like mine. And so you'll have this side in here like this. And once that's done, you're set. So just make sure you hold that piece. Again, I would just throw it gently in the vise with some, you know, something around it. Give that just a firm, snug tight, but not too tight. Or firm, I can't even talk now. Anyways, snug that up, but not too tight. And there we go. We've got our fully assembled unit. Make sure you tighten this guy down as well. Throw your bolts back in. Again, it's AC, doesn't matter which way you hook the wires up. I'll probably actually solder these on rather than twist tie them on, but twist them on. But anyways, that's what the problem is. So it's a combination of too small of an orifice, too much water pressure, hard water where you've got the mineral deposits, all destroying the bottom of the valve here, and just completely eating it out. So Honeywell, if you're watching this, again, I apologize for the quickness of this video and not being, you know, probably getting some of your terminology wrong that you have for all of these pieces. But I'm not a plumber. I'm more of an electrical guy. So anyways, but that's your problem right there. The brass is completely just blown right out. And like I said, my best friend, the only person I've asked, has this same issue with his. So go figure. I bet you there's a ton of people with this issue that don't know. So again, if you're just joining or just watching the end of this, make sure, you know, when your humidifier is off or your furnace isn't running, you've let it sit for a minute or two to finish draining out of the filter. Give your drain line a pinch and see if you've got water running. You shouldn't be running, but if you have my issue like that, you're gonna have water running through it 24/7, and your water bill will be nice and high, especially if you're tapped into your hot water line for better evaporation. So thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate your patience, and subscribe, check out my other videos. If you're into hobbies and some other things like that, check out my giant scale airplanes and stuff like that. Talk to you later. Thank you.